Monica? Hello?
Hi, Lo. I can hear you perfect.
Okay, good.
I just want to make sure did you receive the email with the voting ballot?
The email with what?
Voting ballots?
Oh, man. You know what, Monica? Daggone it.
I just sent it probably about 15 minutes ago.
Nope. Let me call back in.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I do.
Okay.
Hey, Monica.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. I got everything.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Chair Jacobs.
Monica? Hello?
Hi, Commissioner Howerton. I can hear you perfectly clear.
Okay, cool.
Hi, Commissioner Reckow.
Hi. Couldn't get my camera to work initially. Deborah, you're in Myrtle Beach.
I am not. I don't know what's wrong with these phones. Last week I was in Charlotte. Now I would really love to be in Myrtle Beach.
Are you one of those people who's not social distancing at the beach?
Oh, no. Well, I did go to the farmer's market yesterday, but I had my mask on. I hope you had a good weekend.
It was quiet.
Hello.
Mine
Yes,
too.
I enjoyed my quiet.
I went out for a walk a little while ago and it was so cute. There was this high school girl lives in a house a couple blocks from here, and she had friends over and they were sitting in a big circle.
Nashka, can you hear me?
Apart, but almost in the front lawn, all talking.
Yes,
So
ma'am, I can hear you.
about 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah. Well, as long as they were trying to keep 6 feet different. Yeah.
I think I need to call on my phone.
Commissioner Chair Jacobs, I can hear you.
I'm a little worried that
She can't hear me. Okay.
Hey, Deborah, what's going on with Henderson?
Henderson.
Deborah? Henderson?
No, my screen says I'm at Myrtle Beach, but I'm not.
No, I'm asking what's going on with Henderson pulling out of NACO.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Did that happen today?
Yes.
Oh, I have to catch up with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll talk about that in the coffee talks, the district meetings coming up.
Yeah, I'm sure. That means we can't have that extra person as a NACO rep.
Oh, because one of them's for all 100 counties.
Yeah. Yep. That's not good.
Yeah, Tammy just got elected. That means that she'll lose that position.
Tammy's gonna lose her seat?
Yeah, because that we only get that seat because we are 100 counties.
Right. Oh man, I hate that.
Yeah.
What happened? I'm just getting on here, so I missed out what you all are talking about. What happened?
Brenda's saying Henderson County dropped out of NACO.
Yeah, they're pulling their membership.
Okay, well, did you see what they sent to us? They had passed some resolution opposed to, Matt Chase supporting giving more money to counties. Yeah, and they were asking us all to sign on to that. Wow.
It's on that. It's in that letter.
So they were opposed to what, Wendy?
They were opposed to increased federal funding for local government.
Yep.
Well, I think some of the counties in the state are upset that 3 counties got close to, what?
O'clock, and we have all commissioners along with the county manager and the county attorney on the line.
Thank you. You know what? I'm not going to use my iLegislate because I'm having problems with it, so I'm going to pull up the agenda instead, Monica. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 26, 2020 meeting of the Durham County Board of Commissioners, and the time is now 7:01 p.m. I will share the public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. As a courtesy to others, please turn off cell phones during the meeting. And we will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would welcome everyone to join in. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to this republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice
for
for
all.
all. Thank you. Any agenda adjustments? Okay, moving on. I will go on to the announcements. Serving the community, COVID-19 volunteer opportunities. There are lots of great opportunities to help out. You can go to Feed Durham. You can help out with Feed Durham, which is by volunteering with food relief agencies or assisting seniors through the Triangle Nonprofit and Volunteer Leadership Center, which we will have that information on our website about how to do that. You can also support Durham Feast, which is an adult and child feeding collaboration between Durham Public Schools and other partners, and we'll have the website for durhamfeast.org also on our website to sign up for that. And you can also help out by going to the Durham County Public Health website, www.decopublichealth.org, to find out about other nonprofits who are looking for help. You can also go on our website to find out how you can get help yourself with food and other resources. There's still time for the 2020 census. For the first time ever, this is being done by phone, email, or online. The deadline is being extended to October 31st, 2020. Please go to the 2020census.gov website to fill it out. And Deborah,
Yes.
our big champion, can you give us an update on where are we at today for Durham County?
All right, I'm delighted to give a quick update. Just remind everybody, fill out your census forms. There's still time, 10 minutes, 10 questions. So it's very simple. Right now, as a nation, we have 59.6% completed. Our state has 56.4% completed, and we're a little behind the state at 54.8% completed. Now, part of the reason that our numbers are where they are is you recall that they have been closing offices when COVID-19 started. And so that sort of took away some of our momentum, but the offices are beginning to open back up. Census workers are now beginning to get out into the community and knock on doors, and so events are beginning to take place. Our committee is actually doing a census parade next month. We're going to be driving through certain communities that have been slow to respond to try to make another push to get out some information about the census. So please fill out your census information.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, so Durham, we've got to get up there. And again, our goal, Deborah, is what? 82%.
Yes.
Okay.
Or better.
No, we can do it. Yes, thank you. Okay, and our Emergency Operations Center been operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for, I don't know what day we're on now.
74 days.
How many days are we at?
I think we're at 74 days.
74 days. Wow. Unbelievable. 74 days straight. Durham City and County staff have been working 24/7. Unreal. So thank you to our incredible EOC staff. To stay abreast of COVID-19 and to learn more about how you can help reduce the potential spread of this virus, you again can visit our Durham County Public Health website. You can follow DCOPH's Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. We're going to hear later on more from get an update on what's been happening. Did you know that you can vote from home? Vote from the convenience of your home for the 2020 general election. Please visit www.dcovotes.com and for more information about how you can get an absentee ballot form. Okay, any other announcements related to services and resources for our community? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes, and we have our regular session, April 13th, 2020 minutes. I want to commend Maceo for very excellent, detailed minutes, and what is the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Hill, and we will have to do a voice vote. I'll start with you, Commissioner Howerton.
Yes.
And Commissioner Reckow.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so unanimously approved. We have a number of ceremonial items tonight, very exciting, and can't wait to meet her in person, but Durham County's first racial equity officer, Quelly Rashid Henry, and I'm going to pass this over to Joanne Pierce, one of our general managers, to introduce Quelly. So excited to introduce her to the community. And I will let you, Joanne, tell us all more about Quelly, and then give Quelly a chance to share some words with all of us. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? I'm hoping you can.
Yes.
Great. Good evening to the board. I am so pleased that Quelly has joined us. The racial equity officer position is certainly a critical one, especially in government. And over the last few years, we have engaged in racial equity or anti-racism training, which was really important to begin a foundational shared analysis about how we got where we are today when we see racial inequities across every one of our systems without exception. And many internal to our enterprise have asked, after receiving training, I've received training, I've gone to multiple trainings, now what? How do I incorporate racial equity into my work? How do we move our institution forward so that everyone, regardless of race or ethnicity, experience positive outcomes internally and externally? And so what I say, I like what the former Wake County Public School superintendent described as its first assistant superintendent for equity. He said he saw the position as the conscience of the organization, really pushing the organization to advance the work that needs to happen. And so we, along with the city of Durham, are members of the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. And that's a national network of government working to achieve racial equity and advance opportunities for all. So Quaylee, with her strong background and skills in leadership and racial equity, policy, and program management, will certainly guide us as we actively strive to normalize, operationalize, and evaluate social justice principles and practices into our organization. So we have some great opportunities to, assess where we are, and certainly to develop a racial equity plan in coordination with the city, since we're a city-county government, so that we're aligned, so that we can really improve outcomes for all. Thank you, and welcome to Quaylee. I believe she's here with us.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, wonderful. Good evening, commissioners, and thank you so much, Joanne, for that awesome introduction. And I'd like to thank the board for the invitation and the gracious welcome, and for all of your hard work in providing support for the establishment of this inaugural role. I'm very excited to join Durham County government in this role, and just thrilled to serve my community in this way. I see this as a tremendous opportunity to kind of help and address the racial inequities that have been raised for many years, and there's been a lot of foundational work, as Joanne said, to kind of unpack some of that through the training and education that she and team have been providing and surfacing for folks throughout the county. And I'm especially encouraged that I get to join during this time of our COVID pandemic, which has kind of shed light again on some of the racial inequities that our residents and others throughout the community are experiencing, in terms of, just the differences that we see in unemployment and food insecurity and housing and childcare and transportation, and what that means for folks with lived experience who have been marginalized in that way. So I look forward to just partnering with all of you, learning from all of you, and just kind of carrying forward the efforts that have been done, have been foundational in setting us on this path, but then can carry us forward in just maintaining our accountability to our focus on racial equity, to ensure that all residents have that opportunity to live, grow, and thrive. And this is my 4th week, and I'm learning very much about how I will set my work plan, and thinking about the support that the Government Alliance for Racial Equity provides through helping jurisdictions to establish a local action plan that will be COVID specific, I believe. Part of that will be conducting a racial equity survey throughout the county, focusing more on training and education, and developing an ongoing communication strategy. So we'll build on data, we'll build on the managing for results framework that we use to just track our accountability and see where we are in terms of data, and share those results with you. So I'm just really excited to roll my sleeves up and to dig in and begin building on this awesome foundation. So thank you again for the warm welcome, and I look forward to continuing to update you and continuing to partner with you.
Well, thank you so much, Quaylee, and I don't want to overlook the fact that you have an incredible background, which is very heavily focused on public health. So it's actually, we get a double win with you, I feel like, and especially coming in at this time, which I know must be very challenging for you to walk in the door during this crisis, but we're really grateful. And it sounds like you've hit the ground running, hearing all of your plans already. So again, thank you so much, and we all, I know I'm speaking on behalf of our board, that we all really look forward to actually meeting you in person one day. So
yes,
thank you so
thank
much.
you, Chair.
And so next, we have another great,
Madam Chair.
exciting announcement. Oh, yes.
I just wanted to say
Yes, go
that I was also impressed with Quaylee's background, particularly her work with the March of Dimes, and where she was working on the health of moms and babies, because given our latest data, it's definitely an issue for Durham, and we have an infant and maternal health task force, and I would love Quaylee to meet with them the next time they meet, because it sounds like she's got some great background for that work.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Reckow. I'd be honored to do that.
Great, thank you.
And Madam Chair, this is
Yes,
Brenda.
Mr. Howard.
I'd also like to say welcome to Quaylee, and I look forward to meeting you. And I hope your work will also include us as county commissioners. We are part of the team, and that start with the top, with the management, that make sure that we are part of your assessment.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, Commissioner Howerton. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. So we will move on to another exciting introduction. Also, both of these positions were initiatives of our board. And the second one is introduction of Durham County's early childhood coordinator, Kate Elander. And we have Donna Rewalt with us, who is going to introduce Kate to all of us. So I'll turn it over to Donna.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Jacobs. As you know, Durham County has always been an important community partner and investor in early childhood. From our Department of Social Services, through our Welcome Baby program at Cooperative Extension, to our Public Health Department, and our most recent investment of over $5 million annually in Durham Pre-K. For a number of years, there's been an interest that's been growing in having a county employee who would have a role in further coordinating and aligning both our internal county systems and also working more in partnership with the community to also further align systems across government and private partnerships. Funding for this position for this fiscal year, and we've been very pleased that we were able to bring Kate on board as well as Quaylee in this exciting time of double whammy of malware and COVID, which has been its own adventure. We're grateful that she joined us during this time for many of the same reasons we talked about earlier. This is a countywide position. It is based at Cooperative Extension, where it's supported in part through our leadership team and also through our Welcome Baby early childhood program. So I'm happy to introduce Kate as our county early childhood coordinator. She is a dedicated early childhood advocate who brings wide-ranging experience in promoting strong families and communities. In her early career, her roles as community organizer, as a home visitor and outreach coordinator strengthened her commitment to family engagement and systems building. We are lucky in that she also has extensive experience in Durham through the Durham Children's Initiative and her most recent role as program manager at MDC. She has spent 4 years providing strategic guidance and implementation support to Great Expectations, which is an initiative of the Kate V. Reynolds Charitable Trust focused on early childhood systems change and equity in Forsyth County, North Carolina. And in that role, she developed investment strategies and facilitated community-wide planning and capacity building efforts related to strengthening family engagement, first to third grade alignment, resource and referral systems, and informal childcare. So we are really pleased that she is bringing her knowledge about the fields of early childhood and family support and about how local systems can best support strong health, education, and economic outcomes for young children and their families. So I have the pleasure of introducing to you this evening, Kate Elander.
Thank you, Donna. And Kate, would love to hear from you and meet you too.
She's ready. She's ready. She just unmuted. Yeah. Oh, we can't hear her. Kate, we can't hear you. I I could try to live, but I don't think that'll go very well. Let's see if she, no. I think we can't hear my dear.
She may need, Donna, why don't you tell her to call in?
Can you call in?
Call in on the separate number.
Yeah, on the number, and then you can do the audio part. That's happened to a few people.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Well, I will, while she's doing that, I can tell you a couple of other things about Kate. I did not, that I can, if that would be, that'd be your pleasure. And then once she's got that, she's also, I think, interestingly, a founding member of Durham Touchpoints Collaborative, which you are probably familiar with, which provided training for early childhood educators and family support staff. And she also was a blogger formerly with UNC School of Government's Community Engagement Learning Exchange, where she focused on issues of community representation, racial equity, and gentrification. And she does have an MA in Urban Affairs and Public Policy from the University of Delaware and a BA in American Studies from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And she also likes to share, which she probably will share if she is able to join us, that she's also in the throes of early childhood herself with her wonderful toddler son, who I know also loves Durham and is hoping that we will have the Durham Bulls play. I believe we've talked about that a little bit.
I'd like to chime in that I got to know Kate a number of years ago when she was a valued employee at what was then the East Durham Children's Initiative, now the Durham Children's Initiative. And we were sorry to see her leave, but then she joined MDC Inc., which is also a wonderful group, and gained a lot of experience working with Forsyth County. So I think she'll hit the ground running and work for us.
Thank you so much, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you, Kate.
Yeah. So sorry about that. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Donna, and for your kind words, Commissioner Reckow. I am so grateful to be joining the county at this important time for early childhood, and to support all of the work that Durham County and the Durham community have done to build strong early childhood systems here locally. I think COVID has shown us how critical and how fragile different pieces of the early childhood infrastructure are here locally and nationally. And I'm encouraged that the county is investing heavily both in early childhood services like Durham Pre-K, but also in building capacity for alignment and coordination, because I think that will be even more important moving forward as everyone considers what these systems should look like. I think no one would have asked for this opportunity to redesign our systems, but I think we have it. And I think it's just a critical time to be thinking about alignment and coordination here locally. And I know there's been so much work that's already happened. Many of you have been a part of it, working hard to push for better in early childhood in our community. I have been busy reconnecting with former colleagues and learning about the county's investments in Durham Pre-K and in a Durham County Early Childhood Action Plan, and have just been deepening my understanding about new opportunities and challenges facing Durham's early childhood systems. And I'm looking forward to sharing more with you as I continue to dig in. I think this is week 6 for me, and I am working from home with my toddler, as Donna mentioned. So have a lot of personal context for this work too, and just really look forward to partnering and working with all of you, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Thank y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I think we're so fortunate again to have you as well with your incredible background, and both you and Quayle are doing, again, you're going to be helping us with this big picture systems work that, again, are interrelated. So I'm sure the two of you will work together. And
I hope so.
Yeah, and as you've mentioned, COVID is only making all of these issues even more poignant. I've been sitting in on some of the roundtables with our early child care providers, and when we talk about losing some of the ground that we've achieved, because a lot of them are small business owners, when it comes down to it, it is very scary. And we don't want to lose these providers and some of the investment that we've, and the achievement that we've already made. So there is a lot at stake, and with this pandemic. So hopefully we can stay focused on what we need to do to keep moving forward. So thank you. Any other comments from other commissioners for Kate? Okay, well, thank you so much. And again, I know we all are so glad to have you and look forward to meeting you. Okay, we're going to move on to our Older Americans Month proclamation. And May is Older Americans Month. Durham County Board of Commissioners proclamation for Older Americans Month 2020. Whereas Durham County includes a growing number of older Americans who make countless contributions to our community every day. And whereas Durham County is stronger when people of all ages, disabilities, and backgrounds are included and encouraged to make their mark. And whereas Durham County recognizes the importance of the physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being of its citizens. And whereas Durham County welcomes the opportunity and challenges that require us to think differently about health and well-being, aging in place, and long-term care, and has developed a master aging plan to ensure that older adults can safely age in place and with dignity by building a sense of community. And whereas Durham County appreciates the value of inclusivity, racial equity, and assistance in helping older adults successfully contribute to and benefit from their community's commitment to continuously work toward creating an age-friendly Durham. And whereas Durham County can support our community members by promoting independence, inclusion, and participation, and engaging older adults through education, recreation, and service, and connecting people with opportunities to share their time, experience, and talents, especially during this time of physically distancing ourselves, but understanding the importance of remaining socially connected. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, on behalf of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2020 as Older Americans Month. In Durham County, we commend this observance to our residents and urge all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to join with the Department of Social Services, the Durham Center for Senior Life, and Durham Partnership for Seniors Committee to honor older adults and those who care for them during May and throughout the year. We urge all to promote and participate in activities and contribute to helping older Americans make choices for a healthy, safe, and rewarding future. This, the 26th day of May, 2020. Wendy Jacobs, Chair, Durham County Board of Commissioners. And I believe that we have Joanne here, Janine Gordon with us from DSS. Speak on this.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Janine. Thank you so much for being here to talk a little bit about what this proclamation means.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioners and Chair Jacobs, for allowing us to speak about this, because Older Americans Month is a huge mark for the older adults in our community and around the nation, as they make a major contribution through volunteer work, being employees, employers, parents, grandparents, mentors, and advocates. They offer time, talents, and experience to the benefit of our communities. This year's Older Americans Month theme, Make Your Mark, highlights older adults' unique and lasting contributions to their communities. Everything from sharing a story with grandchildren to leaving a legacy of community action. Communities that support and include all of their members are stronger. And so we ask that others will please join Durham County's social services, aging and adult services in strengthening our community by staying connected through sharing stories, pictures, and memories, and building a community that is inclusive of all residents.
And thank you, Janine, for your great work as Assistant Director of Aging and Adult Services for DSS. And I guess everything seems more poignant with COVID, but of course we know how this virus has been especially impacting our seniors who are in long-term care facilities, and how we've had a great effort with our public health staff who is working on that, led by Rod Jenkins, and then also just the senior feeding effort that our board has approved funding for recently, so that we're making sure that our seniors can stay at home and be safe. So I think this has even more meaning during this time. Thank you. Comments from any other commissioners? Okay, well, thank you so much, Janine. And next we have a proclamation for Children's Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have Tika Dempson with us, who is Family Coordinator at Alliance Health. And Tika, I will read this proclamation, and then we would love to hear your comments. Durham Board of County Commissioners Proclamation for Children's Mental Health Awareness Month 2020. Whereas to promote awareness of positive mental health, well-being, and development for all children, youth, and young adults ages birth through 26 years of age in North Carolina, and whereas the leadership in Durham, North Carolina recognizes that mental health needs and treatment be on par with medical needs and treatment, and whereas families shall not feel stigma and shame to seek treatment for their children and youth and be able to discuss openly their need for help without public retribution. And whereas children's mental health promotion needs to be available to everyone, education on the identification and use of child strengths to support success and promote mental health, as well as anti-stigma, inclusion, and social skills education should be available to all citizens of North Carolina. And whereas available school-based mental health programs and positive behavior interventions and supports should be considered as best practice and be encouraged to be practiced in every Durham, North Carolina public school. And whereas children are recognized for having unique needs for recovery of mental health, emotional, behavioral, and substance use issues, and not being combined with the adult mental health population for treatment. And whereas effective mental health treatment services to strengthen families, youth leadership development, and family partner peer supports results in children and youth overcoming trauma, becoming successful, and contributing Durham, North Carolina citizens in a safe environment in their homes, schools, and communities. And whereas Durham County Commissioners, North Carolina Mental Health Planning and Advisory Council, the National Federation of Families for Children's Mental Health, Alliance Behavioral Health Care, North Carolina Families United, the North Carolina State Children's Collaborative, and the Families, NAMI Incorporated, Public Health Department of Social Services, all medical facilities, all legal entities and communities who have children, youth, and young adults struggling with emotional and behavioral health issues joined to recognize Children's Mental Health Awareness Month and Safety. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, on behalf of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2020 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Month in Durham County and commend its observance to our citizens. This, the 26th day of May 2020, Wendy Jacobs, Chair, Durham Board of Commissioners. And Tika, do we have you here with us tonight?
Chair Jacobs, Tika did send a message that she would not be able to participate on the call, but she did want to thank you guys for the proclamation.
Okay, and we know that Tika is such an awesome family coordinator. She's so good at what she does, and she's such a champion for children's mental health, and we appreciate her bringing this to us and for us taking time to recognize this important awareness. Okay, we have our consent agenda, and Mr. Manager, I'm going to ask that you go through these quickly one by one because, again, we actually have not seen these items before, so a little bit different than we normally do, and board members may have questions. So I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you just go through each item really quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Trusting that everyone can hear me. On our consent for tonight, item 174 is a contract with Insight Global. The board is basically being requested to approve a collaborative agreement to pay Insight Global $72,800 for contracted services for technical support in IT. Are there any questions there? Hearing none, we will move to item 179 and the contract extension for Phoenix Business Incorporated. That contract extension is essentially another agreement with one of our contractors for the IT department, bringing the contract total to $111,000 for our SAP team. Any questions there?
I have a question, Mr. Manager. What is the status of our SAP? Or are we going to hear that from Greg? I don't know, later tonight. I don't know if this was related to what's going on with our SAP.
We can do that. SAP has, I'm sorry.
Wendell, this is Susan. I'm prepared to speak to that later in the meeting if you'd like.
Okay, we can wait on that. And I just also related to the Phoenix contract. I'm not sorry, Phoenix. The Insight Global. Could you just remind us what happens with the some of the computers and laptops and tablets? How do we make sure that those are utilized by, for instance, Durham Public School students? And could you just explain to us about our policy related to that?
I'll ask the IT director, Ava Burt, to speak to the specifics of that. Is Burt on?
Greg, this is County Manager. This is Aaron Stone, IT Director of Operations. We still currently are engaged in an agreement with Triangle E-Cycling, and when we decommission computers from county use, they take them, refurbish them, and use students. Obviously, probably in this time they're not doing as much, but they use students to repair those computers for other use in homes. And we also work with the Cramden Institute that have their own select users that they get computers to, typically in the poor communities.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding that item? Hearing none, we will move to item 180, which is to enter a contract with SAP for cloud service support for staff augmentation. That contract is for $88,160. Are there any questions regarding that particular item?
I'll just wait until Susan does her report later related to SAP.
Okay. Item number 185 is a detection and response team service contract in the amount of $73,800, and we're authorizing the manager to enter that service contract. Any questions on item 185? Item 186 is a budget ordinance amendment, and the amount of $190,562 to fund the third-party cybersecurity monitoring service contract for again, our IT department. Any questions regarding item 186?
I just had a general, I don't think, I had asked this by email, but maybe I missed it, but I don't think I saw a response. I'm just wondering where, because the combined funding of all these IT items is over $500,000. I was just wondering where the money is going to be coming from. I assume it's in this year's budget. Is it?
Yes.
So just wondering how we're going to pay for it.
Sure, Commissioner Jacobs, yes. The agenda items did reflect how the dollars would be covered, and I failed to send the response until the meeting started. However, there's one item that required a fund balance appropriation for the security monitoring contract. The rest of them are through budget realignments of the current budget.
Okay, so 186 is actually fund balance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And one of the questions that you also asked is whether or not we will get reimbursed for some of them, and those that are related to the cybersecurity. There's one for the Microsoft, and then there's another one. There's another one for $73,000 that will also have a reimbursement.
Would that be 100% reimbursement, or?
Yes, that would be from our cyber insurance. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And from the summary, I haven't had a chance to see it either because I was busy this afternoon, but I'd be interested in knowing which of the expenditures are considered still restoring and which ones may be preventive, and then which ones we would have done anyway without the cyber attack.
Sure. Okay. We can provide that follow-up. Greg's team will present to the board on Thursday, and we can make sure that those are those are the kinds of things that are shared also in the presentation, because of the timing of this. Some of this will impact how we manage next year.
Okay. Any other questions regarding that particular item? Hearing none, we will move to item 191, which is essentially our standard property tax release and refund report. This particular amount is $14,804. Any questions concerning that item? That refund report was for the month of March. The next release and refund report is for the month of April, which is item 192. Any questions regarding that particular item? Next item, item 198, is an increase in the interlocal agreement between the city and the county to provide recycling processes for the haul services to the target recycling materials. Any questions on that particular item?
At some point, Mr. Manager, I would be interested in a more comprehensive report on the status of recycling. I've heard that with the market kind of falling apart, we're in a whole new realm in terms of recycling, and vendors are very picky in terms of the type of product they get. So I'm glad we're doing what we're doing. It's somewhat innovative, and I'm glad Orange County is being such a great. Oh, that's actually a different one item. The one where we're working with Orange County on recycling. But I think a report on the status of recycling and the market for recycling, and whether we need to be giving our residents any more information to make our products more marketable in terms of what they do with the goods would be very worthwhile.
Okay, we can get general services to put something together.
Commissioner Reckow, we've prepared a report to be given to you during the budget presentation.
Okay.
All right, very good. Items 207 is another budget ordinance amendment appropriating general fund balance in the amount of $152,000 to support some previously approved contracts for the Food Security Task Force.
I just
Any
had a
questions
question.
there?
I just had a question. The money that we had previously approved in April, it was, I guess, about 3.6 million that was taken out of our fund balance, and then there was an additional, so it was about 3.7 million. So all of that money has already been spoken for. There wasn't, I guess I was under the impression that some of it was also going to be just for other COVID-related expenses. But can you just clarify, or Susan, or I don't know who's appropriate to clarify, but I guess I thought that some of that money was just related in general for future COVID-related expenses, and that this might be something.
Are you referring to the CARES funding that we discussed last week, or are you talking about? I have a proposal in my budget to do some set-aside dollars for future COVID expenses. I want to get clear on the question that you're asking first.
No, it was back in April when we approved about $3.7 million to be used for, COVID-related funding. And part
Madam
of it
Chair,
was... Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is Drew Cummings. I think I can answer your question because we did investigate that question in the EOC. And although not all of that money has been spent, it was all broken out for very specific other uses, like PPE, for example. And so there wasn't a general COVID pot that we could encumber against for these funds.
Okay, and is there still money left out of that 3.7?
Yes, not all of that money has been spent.
Okay, but we couldn't use this. I mean, we couldn't use that to finance this food program.
I think that's something that could be looked at, but all of that money that was previously appropriated sort of to the EOC was divided up into specific uses, but not all of the money has been spent. So it's something we could look at, I imagine, but I think it might also be good to go ahead with this one in case all of that funding is needed elsewhere.
Okay. All right. It sounds like we need to get some clarification on these different...
I think, Madam Chair, once we have an opportunity to come back forth with the draft plan, the overall expenses as projected out for COVID over the next several months, in addition to what we've spent, I think it will provide an opportunity for some greater clarity once we get into the budget deliberation discussions.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Items 218 is an interlocal agreement between Orange County and Durham County regarding the disposition of the sources separated glass, our solid waste division. Are there any questions regarding that particular item?
I just wanted to commend the staff. I thought that was an innovative partnership, so pleased to see that.
Thank you, ma'am.
I just have a follow-up question for clarity. How does this impact people who get their recycling picked up, who pay for the recycling fee and get their recycling picked up at their homes?
So we will ask in the future for our community to separate glass out of their curbside recycling, and if they are inclined to, they could take that recycling glass to the convenience site that is nearest to them. If they choose not to do that, they can still put their glass in their recycling container. How it will help the county is that we would be able to maintain our fees and reduce the tonnage that glass actually does incur for us to expend money when it's picked up at the curb.
Okay, wait, I'm confused. So, because I'm one of those people. I live in the county. I pay the recycling fee for the curbside pickup.
Right. Yes. So it will be optional with regards to whether you decide to separate glass and take that glass to our convenience site. But it would be helpful. And again, we are maintaining the fee of for our next fiscal year, and we maintain that fee for 4 years. And based on what's happening in the market right now, we will be changing some of our operational functions in order to maintain the fee at the present rate. So any help that individuals who have curbside recycling can help us with regards to reducing the capacity that we pick up every other week would be helpful. But we will have to change some of our operational moves with regards to recycling because of the cost of the tonnage that is being incurred by the county.
Okay, so are we going to be doing, I guess, education around this issue to customers?
Well, once we've talked with the board and made sure that we are moving the program in the manner in which they feel we should do this, we will definitely have educational opportunities for our community to understand why we are separating glass from the recycling system, as well as changing our operational schedule with regards to curbside recycling.
And what would have been the increased fee amount if we instead just increased the fee and just kept people's glass in the container? What would that have been?
There would have been a $20 increase to the fee. It would have moved from $158 to approximately $178.
Was there any thought about doing a survey or get people's input about what they would prefer?
Why don't we discuss that at the budget session?
All right.
Based on time crunch now.
Okay. Well, this is actually, we're approving this right now, Commissioner Reckow, so I'm not sure how we actually, it sounds like we're actually approving this to happen.
Well, they can do it with glass that goes to the container sites.
I'm sorry.
They'll to do it with the glass that goes to the container sites fairly easily, because they'll have that set up. So that's taken care of. So we will get some flow to participate in the project.
Okay, it sounds like we need to have more discussion about this during the budget. Okay, thank you.
The next item, item 225, is essentially the use of operating funds in the amount of $19,500 to support additional hours of payment for Microsoft Premier for our IT department. Are there any questions? Item number 242 is essentially approval of the Commissioner's funds in the amount of $21,525 for face coverings for our high-risk residents. Are there any questions there?
I would just love to give Commissioner Howerton and Commissioner Reckow an opportunity to speak about this fantastic project they've led.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been a pleasure to work with Isaac and Commissioner Reckow and also with Dr. Hot Brothers to make this all come together. And I want to give kudos to our city council members and the school board for their participation in it. Because it always takes the community to make things happen. And as I was talking to someone today, a member of the People's Alliance, they're ready for the mask right now. One of the drivers, as the drivers drive the access, and wanted to know when could they get masks for their drivers. So I think this is a good project that great to participate in it. And I think this is just the start, because we've got over 300,000 people in Durham, and the one piece that we left out that was masks for children. I think that's one piece that we need to take a look at, that we didn't include any small masks for little ones. So I'm happy that it came together, and I look forward to the next phase of it. And having the business community work alongside us to make sure that all of their employees have masks as well. So I'll talk to Mr. Reckow.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Howerton. It's really been a pleasure because we have great partners. I'm so pleased with Isaac Henrian, who is heading up the Covered Durham initiative, and then Dr. Elaine Hart Brothers, who I've known for 30 years, who heads up the Community Health Coalition. Both of them are totally dedicated to citizen education and outreach. We are going to have a lot of boots on the ground delivering up to 50,000 masks. And we have 12 people who are part-time employees of the Community Health Coalition. And then we're going to be working with about 15, what we're calling community health champions. And they will be out at the transit station and other major bus stops and all around town, not only giving out the masks, but helping to convey the importance of wearing the mask and how to wear it properly. So we're going to make a big dent in helping the underserved population, which was the original goal that Commissioner Howerton came up with, and so important. So I'm pleased that we were able to assemble so much money. I hope, Deborah, that you'll put out a press release as soon as we got those masks in hand to let the community know that the three local governments, school board, city council, county commissioners, came together, pooled their largely travel money that they hadn't spent because we were sidelined, and are putting it to a very good cause for the community.
Well, thank you, and I agree this is a very important collaboration between all three governments, and I love the partnership with between Covering Durham and the Community Health Coalition and the focus on public education, and also paying people $15 per hour who are doing that. And this is really critical. We see right now, I'm sure we'll hear more about this later, but again, our rate of positive cases now, 50% of our positive cases are now in the Latinx community. So this is really important, making sure that we are addressing the needs in our vulnerable communities. And I just want to add that today, On the MAC call, we heard the sheriff say that he is very worried that the courts are going to open June 1st, and that he is very worried about people coming to the courthouse and not having masks. So if you all could just pass that on to Isaac and Dr. Hart Brothers, that's actually going to be an urgent need starting June 1st, is folks who are coming to the courthouse and who need to be in the courtroom. There's a huge backlog. He said the first day, they literally, or maybe the first week, they had 400, they were expecting 400 people. I think it was actually the first day, which obviously, hopefully will be reduced. But in other words, that's, again, that's be a new urgent need that we have, and hopefully our masks can help, our face coverings can help there. So I just wanted to share that. Okay, any other commissioners want to comment on the face coverings project? All right, well, thank you again, Commissioner Howerton and Commissioner Reckow. 50,000 masks is really amazing and fantastic, very exciting. So we are now at the end of our consent agenda, and so we have, I will just ask for a motion to approve our consent agenda items, and then we'll take a voice vote.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Howerton, and we'll take a voice vote, starting with you, Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Reckow.
Aye.
Commissioner Howerton.
Aye.
And I'm aye, so our consent agenda is unanimously approved. We have two public hearings before us this evening, and the first one is a public hearing on the FY 2020-21 County Manager's recommended budget, and we have received public comments via email, and I'm going to turn this over to our wonderful clerk, Monica Toomer, who did such a good job last time. And Monica, how many comments have we received?
So we have a total of 29 comments. However, a few of them are duplicates. So I'm just going to read the names of those that have submitted the particular comments that are rereading it.
Okay, well, I'm going to suggest that we go with 2 minutes per comment, and then you will, of course, send them all out to all of us and the staff as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me good.
Yes, thank you.
Chelsea Ray and Joan Walsh.
Monica, I think we lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, so let's start over. Chelsea Ray and Joan Walsh both ask that you please act on the following 6 recommendations from the People's Alliance. Provide staff and coordinate with the City of Durham, North Carolina Legal Aid, and nonprofits to help people who need eviction, diversion, and rental assistance funds. Provide $1.2 million to fund the county's share of a model countywide program of property tax assistance to homeowners with incomes below 30% of the area median income. This will help low-income homeowners in their homes, prevent gentrification, and build wealth in low-income communities. Provide funding to increase salaries for non-licensed staff to $15 per hour, and increase funding to ensure DPS provides adequate and equitable teacher salary supplements. Also, fully fund English as a second language and exceptional children academic services. Coordinate with the city to advance the Community Wellness Task Force, prioritizing the leadership of Indigenous, Black, Latinx, and other people of color to respond to the immediate needs in their own communities. Reduce dependency on incarceration by allocating funds to mental health courts for some felony offenses, supporting the local reentry council, and ensuring funds for transitional housing. And lastly, fund the development of a joint city-county climate action plan in accordance with the resolution supporting a transition to renewable energy, the creation of green jobs, and federal price on carbon, passed by City Council and County Commission. Comment 2, Patrick Naley. I think this is a great time for a property tax. We could design it so that it doesn't hurt the needy. There are many property owners who do not have who have not been economically affected by the pandemic. They still have their income as they did before COVID-19. I certainly would appreciate city services to be better funded in our quest to recover from our unexpected expenses. Comment 3, Anna Gomez. Good evening, commissioners. Just wanted to bring this to your attention. We really need at least one interpreter in each school. I have siblings who have kids in Hillendale Elementary School, and they really have a hard time trying to communicate with their teachers. Comment 4, Wilmer Painting. Good evening. I just wanted to suggest more interpreters in DPS. Thank you. Comment 5, Millicent Rogers and Keithan Clymer both submitted the same comment. In an effort to create a more equitable Durham, the constituents of Durham County are asking to increase funding for the local school system. This increased funding should be enough funding to cover a minimum wage of at least $15 per hour for all staff. Increasing this funding would allow DPS to demonstrate their commitment to their staff without sacrificing the safety of students and family in the upcoming fiscal year. Comment 6, Sarah Anderson. In an effort to create a more equitable Durham, I am asking for Durham County to increase the funding for the school system to cover a minimum wage of at least $15 per hour. No school employees should have to worry about poverty wages during the midst of this crisis. Comment 7, Tal Madelon, Elizabeth Simpson, and Eli Sneed all submitted the same comment, which reads, I am writing to urge you to increase funding for DPS beyond the $3.2 million proposed by the county manager. Specifically, I urge you to allocate $1.7 million to increase all DPS wages to $15 per hour. This is deeply inequitable issue, especially at this time of crisis. People employed by DPS not making $15 per hour are the very last employees in our county below this critical threshold. They are largely Black and brown. They have the brunt of risk with schools being closed. They will likely continue to do so as we move into the next school year. In order to resolve this glaring inequity and driver of poverty, the county may have to dip into its fund balance. However, I believe there are 2 items in the budget that are far less urgent and whose elimination would create room for an extra expenditure mentioned above. Namely, when looking at the allocation to the Sheriff's Department, I noticed that $1.5 million is requested for 34 replacement cars. Money is requested for the conversion of 13 positions from non-existent female mental health pods to deputized officers. I believe that these are deeply unnecessary expenditures. In the case of the first, we already know that crime is down due to the epidemic. Surely given that, and given that cars can be maintained and used, this is not an urgent matter. Comment 8, Vanessa Barnett Loro. I'm writing as a citizen of Durham County and as a teacher myself to ask for you to increase funding for DPS beyond the amount proposed by the county manager. In an effort to create a more equitable Durham, I specifically urge you to allocate an additional $1.7 million to cover the minimum wage of at least $15 per hour for DPS staff. This is an issue of equity and financial security for a vulnerable group of hardworking DPS staff, especially at this time of crisis. Beyond this specific need, I urge the county to consider allocating an additional $8.5 million to DPS in order to enact the aforementioned wage increase, as well as avoid cuts to essential DPS programs. We have taken steps forward as public school district, and this is not the time to regress. Comment 9. My name is Michelle Burton, and I am the president of Durham Association of Educators. I want to speak on behalf of the DPS budget, specifically to the ask of $15 minimum for all classified staff. DPS needs every single dollar that is asked for, but during the COVID-19 pandemic, DPS classified staff, particularly our custodians, our bus drivers, and our child nutrition staff, were considered essential. We needed their labor to clean buildings, prepare food for our students so our kids would have food to eat, and we needed the bus drivers to deliver those meals. They were putting their health and safety on the line to ensure our buildings were clean and our students and families had food to eat. Yet, they do not get paid $15 per hour. City employees get paid a minimum $15 per hour, as well as county employees. We cannot keep asking our DPS classified staff to do more and more and not pay them a basic living wage that allows them to live and thrive in Durham. DPS can't get substitute teachers for this very reason, because subs are paid such low wages. Bumping all classified employees to $15 an hour would help with recruiting substitutes. Therefore, I'm asking you to figure out a way to make this $15 minimum happen for our classified staff. They deserve it and they can't keep waiting. Thank you. Comment 10, Mika Thwaitmeyer. I'm a science teacher at Riverside High School, and I'm concerned with the manager's proposal to only provide DPS with $3.2 million in new funds. DPS has requested $17 million to provide education requirements for special needs students and English language learners. At the very least, our schools need $8.5 million to provide for our students and cover the amount of money that charter schools take away from us. In addition, it is a travesty that the only state and county employees that do not make a $15 minimum wage are educators. Special education educators in my school hand feed their students, hold their hands while they walk through the halls, change their clothes, and provide care every minute of the school day. And they do not make $15 per hour. Custodians, essential workers that will be critical for our school to safely reopen do not make a living wage. And it is not surprising that we cannot fully staff positions such as bus drivers, custodians, and cafeteria workers without a living wage. During the current pandemic, Durham's community needs our schools and the availability of sustainable jobs more than ever. Thank you. Comment 11, Nicholas Graber Grace. These have been difficult months as we navigate a global pandemic. As a teacher, I miss working with my students in person each day at Hillside. As a parent, I feel the challenge of trying to work from home while my own children need more of my attention. As a member of the Durham Association of Educators, I have had many conversations with colleagues and parents about what schools should look like both now and next year. We know that nothing about this is normal. We know that the pressure of school closure and remote learning is stressful to students, to educators, to parents, and to you as policymakers. We are all in this together. We also know that while tax revenues have shrunk, these circumstances will require more, not fewer, financial and human resources to meet the needs of students and school workers. I understand you may not be able to appropriate the full $17 million needed by the Board of Education. Yet we strongly urge you to find a way to provide at least $8.5 million in new funds. This is the amount we think is required to cover state mandated costs for health and retirement benefits, critical staffing needs for EC and English language learners, and required costs related to enrollment growth and charter school funding. Perhaps most importantly, an $8.5 million investment would mean that Durham County can fully ensure that all DPS staff earns at least $15 per hour. Through this pandemic, we have relied on custodians to sanitize our schools and child nutrition staff and bus drivers to assist with food distribution. These are the only government workers anywhere in Durham paid less than $15 an hour. We can and we must do better. Most people working in these roles are working class Black and Latinx women and men. These are our colleagues and our parents. They are proud residents of Durham. Comment 12, Jean Schreier. I'm writing to second the comments of Nicholas Graber Grace, my colleague at Hillside High School. As an exhausted single parent, homeschooling my 8 and 5-year-old while also conducting remote instruction for my 9th grade English students at Hillside, this is the best I can do. Nicholas Graber Grace said it all, and I second his stance on our budget needs of a minimum of 8.5 million, billion, trillion, zillion, whatever it is, the people of Durham deserve the very best for our children. Comment 13, Karina Barnett Lauro. As current resident of Durham, as well as a graduate of the Durham Public School System and friend, neighbor to many DPS teachers and staff, I hope you will increase funding for DPS beyond the amount proposed by the county manager. In an effort to create a more equitable and just Durham, I specifically urge you to allocate an additional $1.7 million above the proposed budget increase to cover a minimum wage of at least $15 per hour for all DPS staff. Our hardworking public school staff deserve financial security, especially during this time of crisis. I also urge the board to consider allocating an additional total of $8.5 million to DPS in order to enact the aforementioned wage increase, as well as avoid cuts to essential DPS programs. We have taken steps forward as a public school district, and this is not the time to regress. Comment 14, Millie Rosin. I am a teacher in DPS and am writing to urge you to approve at least $8.5 million in new funds for the DPS budget. We desperately need more staff and resources for ESL and EC students, specifically in this COVID-dominated future we are currently looking down the barrel at, and what we have not already is not even close to enough. We continue to commit to paying all classified employees, part-time or full-time, at least $15 per hour. We need to commit. The city of Durham does it for their employees, and there is no reason DPS shouldn't be doing so, especially if our hourly workers, like custodians, cafeteria staff, and bus drivers, will be taking on even more risk in their jobs as we try to eventually go back to school in the time of the pandemic. I don't want to walk into a building where the custodian who cleans my floor each day, who I talk to every afternoon, and who always has a kind word for everyone, isn't even making enough to keep a roof over her head or food on the table. We know that $15 an hour is barely enough to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in most cities in the U.S., so it's a minimum, but it's solely needed, and DPS isn't even funded enough right now to afford it. We need to approve new funding partly for this reason. I also noticed in the budget, as I have in previous budgets, that quite a lot of money is allocated for the Sheriff's Department's new vehicles and manpower. It's astonishing to me how much money that departments need every single year, in this case, $1.5 million for new vehicles. I also noticed that the mental health services the sheriff wanted to install in the women's part of the jail never materialized, but the sheriff still wants that funding for new deputies instead. I think it's a huge misuse of funds that would be much better spent on our school and students. There were additional comments, however, we're at the 2-minute mark, so they will be provided to you guys. Comment 15, Davis Harper. My name is Davis Harper, and I'm an educator at Hillside New Tech High School, as well as a Durham resident. I'm writing to ask that you please allocate 8.5 million in new funds for DPS, which I believe is necessary to hit the 15 minimum wage threshold for all DPS classified staff. It is a travesty that custodians, child nutrition workers, and substitutes are the only public employees left in Durham not making the living wage. I see it in my school and others across the district when these jobs are considered less valuable by the government and are compensated as such. We cannot hire and retain the most qualified and compassionate workers. I ask that certain line items in the Sheriff's Department budget be shifted into the new DPS budget, including 1.5 million for new vehicles, as well as the funds Sheriff Burkhead is requesting to hire new deputies. While public safety is important, our public schools are crying out for the bare minimum of respect and dignity for our county government. If we want to address the root cause of the inequities that exist in our county, it is critical that we prioritize education. Comment 16, Braven St. Clair. I am a nurse, public school parent, and Durham County resident, and I am writing to ask that the county commissioners consider approving 8.5 million in new funds for Durham Public Schools. My daughter is a rising sophomore at Durham School of the Arts, and I am engaged to a public school teacher, but also everyone I know has some connection to the public school system in Durham. If we want it to be the pride of our county, as it once was, we need to pay its staff a living wage. I find it hard to believe and discouraging as well that these subs, cafeteria workers, and custodians are the only Durham employees not making a living wage. I understand that things like public safety and public health are important. I am an ICU nurse at UNC, but I know that there have to be funds to help offer our public school workers the dignity they deserve. Comment 17, Honora Middo. The intention of this email is to ask the commissioners to approve a minimum of 8.5 million in new funds for DPS. I remember traveling through Durham about 15 years ago from my hometown in Virginia Beach on a Greyhound bus. At that time, I never imagined that it would be a place that I loved teaching and supporting businesses in. It looked like a destitute city. But now investments have been made, and it has emerged as a city comparable to any other, with one thing that unfortunately remains consistent across the county. As cities emerged economically and neighborhoods became gentrified, the Black and brown citizens got left behind in all of the investments that we were left behind. Ensuring the predominantly Black and Latinx workforce within DPS are paid a $15 minimum wage is not only equitable and just, it is a matter of investing in the health of the Durham community. If people are able to learn a living wage with one job, they live with less stress in their lives, possibly a little more time not spent working two jobs and more precious time with their families. This trickles down to a positive impact on our students' well-being as a bonus. Additionally, during this time, our custodian and nutrition staff have been essential frontline employees. They have been requested and suggestively required to do important work and deserve to be compensated in a manner that reflects their value. Suggestions: please continue the feasibility of shifting Sheriff Burkhead line items for 34 new vehicles to aid cost of a long overdue living wage to DPS staff. Comment 18, Teresa Parkinson. My name is Teresa, and I'm a proud DPS teacher and member of Durham Association of Educators, and I'm writing on behalf of the proposed budget and asking you to approve 8.5 million in new funds. My reasons are simple. We have classified staff who have worked tirelessly for many years with meager pay. Why can we not guarantee a $15 minimum wage? Especially now when schools are closed and we're asking our custodians and cafeteria workers to be essential employees. These are the folks who will feed our children and sanitize our buildings. As a teacher, I am depending on my custodians to keep me safe with a clean building. These are frontline workers. Some custodians at my school must work another job before they come into my school. Some custodians at my school fall into high-risk categories regarding age and health. These folks need to be treated fairly. Please defer the purchase of new vehicles so our custodians and nutritional staff may be compensated appropriately. Comment 19, Turquoise Parker. We know we can't get in everything that our students and staff want and need this year. However, there are some really important bottom line priorities that we want to discuss. The Board of Education is requesting approximately $17 million in new county funding. The request includes DAE views, $10.3 million in vitally important investments listed below, $5.3 million for required non-discretionary costs. Please see page 6 of the summary. This also includes the DPS portion of state salary increases, increased costs for healthcare, retirement, and utilities, $1 million for state and federal mandated increases to EC staff, $500,000 for state and federally mandated increases in English language learners, $2.2 million for projected enrollment costs, $2.1 million for charter enrollment, $1.7 million to raise the pay of all school workers to at least $15 per hour. DAE believes that with some adjustments to the proposed budget, DPS may be able to meet these priorities with as little as $8.5 million in new funding. The county manager is recommending only $3.2 million in new funding, plus an additional $2 million for capital expenses. This is far short of meeting the $17 million identified needs requested by the DPS stakeholders, and even falls substantially short of what we believe is a more reasonable request of $8.5 million in new funds. It will also certainly require $8.5 million in new funding rather than $3.2 proposed by the manager. Comment 20, Q, Mascheri. Mr. Mascheri has actually provided a PDF with several comments from Spanish-speaking community members. Of the comments that he did provide, 11 of them were all in favor of an interpreter. I will read a few of them until the 2 minutes expire. I'm a mother of 2 children of the Durham Public School System. The most important thing in my life is the communication as a Christian, the communication with God as part of this world, communication in a way that we understand. That which they are discussing with us, it is very important that we learn how to speak and we know how to speak to one another. We need more interpreters in truth, that which we need in the Durham Public Schools. My name is Paula Hernandez. I have 2 daughters in DPS, and for my children and for me. It is so important that more interpreters and counselors obtain good communication between teachers, children, and parents. My name is Kristen Martinez, mother of 2 children at Durham Public Schools, and for me it is very important to count on interpreters. Brandon Juarez, I am a mother of children. We need more interpreters in public schools. Good afternoon, my name is Flora Santo, mother of 2 children in more public schools. I think that it's a good idea that there are more interpreters in Durham Public Schools. Darla Grayler and Carlos Solaro, they also stated that they were in favor of interpreters within Durham Public Schools. Comment 21, Mauricio Castro. The Durham school system is in need of more interpreters to support the growing Latino immigrant families. Please consider approving the funds requested in the budget from the school district to hire 1 more interpreter. Comment 22, Anka Stevens. I'm a Durham public school educator and a parent of an 8-year-old public school student. I'm an active advocate for public schools and serve on the board of Durham Association of Educators for a 2nd consecutive term. I'm writing because I deeply believe in Durham's visionary and courageous leadership. and this faith extends to the budget our county commissioners will be approving under these extraordinary circumstances. As many of us know, the grave impact of this most recent coronavirus pandemic didn't in and of itself cause the devastation we've been seeing. We are seeing the horrifying disparity in deaths and sickness among the very people we rush to call essential workers because of historic failure to proportionately compensate them for their service. These same people, our cafeteria, bus drivers, and custodial staff, have acted heroically and fed thousands of people, putting their own lives on hold and their own health at the risk of the common good. Our absolute dependence on the labor and resilience of food workers, sanitation staff, garbage collectors, home care workers, and healthcare providers should not be news to any of us, but our gratitude expressed through concrete action is long overdue. Therefore, I am asking the County Commission and County Manager to approve a minimum of $8.5 million budget in new funds for Durham Public Schools. This is a reduction from the $17 million budget DPS has assessed we need in order to properly care for our community's well-being. We cannot allow another fiscal year to pass without providing the workers we've all called essential with the same $15 minimum wage every other city and county employee has received. Comment 23, Matt Kopak. I hope you are doing well during this challenging time. I wanted to join the chorus of voices and provide comment about funding for school system staff. In an effort to create a more equitable Durham, the constituents of Durham County are asking to increase funding for the local school system. I believe this increased funding should be enough to cover a minimum wage of at least $15 per hour for all staff. Increasing this funding would allow DPS to demonstrate their commitment to their staff without sacrificing the safety of students and family in the coming fiscal year. Comment 24, Al Donaldson. I'm a Durham resident, a DPS employee and parent, and a member of the Durham Association of Educators. We've all seen firsthand the impact of COVID-19 crisis has had on schools and students. As we face an uncertain future, I believe our best move is to invest as much as we possibly can into the infrastructure of our school system. This is why I am here today to urge the County Commission to move beyond the $3.2 million allocation recommended by the County Manager and to instead approve at least $8.5 million in the budget allocated for Durham Public Schools. Every day I hear people all over our country praising the efforts of frontline workers. Thank you, and you're a hero. And other words of thanks are part of our new normal. Today, by funding DPS at a level that will support a $15 per hour minimum wage for all district employees, you have a golden opportunity to show tangible appreciation for those members of our DPS system who often are its backbone. This is the chance to meet these heroes, these colleagues, these employees with the living wage they need so that when they are working to make our schools better, they meet basic needs of safety, cleanliness, and nutrition for our children. They have a better chance to provide for their children and families at home. At a time like this, we have to put our money where our value is. Let's fund DPS at $8.5 million, half of the urgent need the district requested, so that we can center our commitment to our schools with a steady eye on racial and economic justice. Those DPS employees who are paid under $15 an hour are overwhelmingly Black and Latinx. The same is true for the students in the exceptional children and English language learner programs that an $8.5 million budget allocation would more robustly support. Now I'm going to read an additional 5 comments that were submitted by our Spanish-speaking community. Sylvia Gonzalez. Please, we need more interpreters in Durham Public Schools. Thanks. Carmen Rufino, we respectfully request more interpreters for the good of our children. Marlea Agrucia, I'm a mother of a student from a Durham, North Carolina school. I'm seeking immediate help for this school. Many of our families do not have access to a computer or the internet. We need more interpreters and more help for children who speak Spanish and English as a second language, since classes are more difficult for them. Please do not put our request in a drawer. Amanda Castillo, I am a mother of 2 children in Durham Public Schools. I'm writing today to request the county commissioners give at least $8.5 million to schools this year instead of the $3.5 million in the budget now. Give the janitorial employees and cafeteria workers a fair wage of $15 an hour. We also need to improve services for children who speak English as a second language and for children with special needs. The education of our children cannot wait. Thanks for your consideration. And lastly, we have Nancy Cortez. Good afternoon. I'm the parent of public school students, and I'm writing to ask the Durham County Commission for the support that is required as urgent. Fund at least $10 million, not $3.2 million, that you are supposed to give for now due to the situation. The circumstances have changed drastically, and the need and the essential needs need to be met. We are asking that these needs and urgency be taken into consideration and made a priority. Offer fairer wages of at least $15 per hour to janitors and those who work in public school cafeterias who are responsible for feeding our children in schools. Provide fairer wages for teachers who, in and out of our schools, strive to make ways to teach their students and maintain student educational sustainability. Improve services for the community of which English is their second language, and improve services for students with special needs. Public schools, not because they are, should remain a headache and be strengthened by a future community that is well worth investing in. The school community of today will be our workforce of tomorrow. Please, this is an urgent public request that must be taken into account. That concludes our budget public hearing comments.
Thank you, and thank you, Monica, for doing a great job of reading all the comments, and thank you to everybody who has submitted public comment on the manager's proposed budget. We really appreciate all of your important input. We will now go on to another public hearing on the resolution related to not to exceed $75 million in limited obligation bonds, Series 2020C and 2020D. And I'm going to turn this over to Susan Tezai to talk about what this public hearing request is about and to go into detail about the different projects. Thank you, Susan.
Yes, Commissioner Jacobs. So what this is a public hearing because we're issuing $75 million in LOBs, short-term financing for a 24-month period that will be converted to fixed rate financing within 24 months. The projects that are being funded are $15 million is taxable, and that's for the 300 block parking deck for the construction of the actual deck. Let's see, then Snow Hill Pump Station, that's an asset of the cities, but we're doing that for economic development purposes for Trayburn Park. Research Triangle Foundation, we have an agreement with RTF to assist with $20 million in funding for the new hub RTP. This is the balance that they did not draw down from the previous debt that we had issued because they wanted to put it on hold because they wanted to improve the project. So now they've started construction again. DTCC building and land purchase, that's 2.9 million for the purchase of land that has a building on it for DTCC to use for student purposes. Durham Public Schools, 6.5 million of this is from that 10 million that we said that we would fund. If you recall, last fall, they identified $6.5 million worth of projects, but they wouldn't be shovel ready until now. And then the additional 12 million for DPS school projects. And so, and only the parking deck is taxable, the 15 million, and the rest is tax exempt financing.
Thank you. Susan, can you also explain, I guess, are we actually opening this public hearing right now for public comment, and then the public comment is supposed to be submitted within the next 24 hours? I was not clear on this, how this process works.
Yes, General Assembly passed Senate Bill SB 704, and I attached that. I put a link on the agenda item, but I also attached it as a PDF. And page 47, I believe it is, of the Senate bill, public hearings, says a public body may conduct any public hearing required or authorized by law during a remote meeting and take action thereon, provided the public body allows for written comments on the subject of the public hearing to be submitted between publication of any required notice and 24 hours after the public hearing. So before the Senate bill, you would have had the public hearing today, and then you would have voted to approve the resolution. Now, because public comment has to stay open for 24 hours afterwards, you can't approve the resolution tonight. You can only hold the public hearing for approval. And then I'll come back with an agenda item for the work session June 1st, asking that you set aside the rules and pass and approve the resolution. And then June 2nd, the LGC committee will review and approve the $75 million lobs.
Okay, well, thank you. So that helps to clarify that.
Yeah, all this is related to COVID-19 because everything is virtual now. So they want to make sure that the public has sufficient time to comment.
Right. Okay, thank you. So I guess...
Madam Chair,
yeah.
Could you ask anyone to mute who's not speaking? There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, I hear something. Almost sounds like a TV or something in the background. So I'd like to first see if commissioners have any questions related to this item. Any questions?
Chair, I have just one.
Yes, Commissioner Carter.
So it's about the Durham Tech building and land purchase for $2.9 million. I was thinking that this or a project that sounded like a lot like this was that money instead was going from the PAYGO fund to one of the reserves that we have in next year's potential budget, reserves to protect against, not enough revenue to match expenditures because of COVID or the specific COVID fund. Is that something else? Am I just totally off base? What am I thinking about? Am I remembering something incorrectly?
Commissioner Carter, this is Keith Lane, Budget Director. I hope you all can hear me. Yes. I can answer that question for you. You are correct. You're hearing two different things happening related to the same sort of project. Durham Tech came to the manager a while back and wanted to buy a piece of land that has become available. And initially, they wanted to try to figure out how to use some county cash PAYGO funding from another project that they didn't need as much money as was budgeted because the project came in under budget, and they wanted to use county cash to purchase that land. Once COVID came up and all those issues, the county made a strategic decision to use LOBS funding to replace the purchase of the land for DTCC using LOBS funding, and then take that $2.9 million in PAYGO money and move it as part of the FY 2021 budget as part of the reserve money of the 4.5 or the 4.6 million. So the two things are related and somewhat coordinated. But this is the first part of the process saying that now the county will use LOBS funding to help Durham Tech purchase this piece of property for $2.9 million, freeing up $2.9 million of county PAYGO money for FY 2021 use. Does that make sense?
Keith. It does, Keith. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do want to point out that since I sit on the Durham Tech board, that the property we're acquiring is a very strategic parcel. It is positioned almost in the middle of the campus. So it's of high value to obtain that property.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members? So similar to the, excuse me, to the budget, I can't really officially open and then close the public hearing. Well, I guess Lowell, how do I do this? Because we didn't really officially, I didn't actually officially open the public hearing and then close it with the previous item. Do I need to actually do that? Do I need to actually say I'm opening the public hearing? And in this case, it stays, am I closing it and we're just allowing the public comment to persist for another 24 hours?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so we do need to still, I still need to say, I'm opening it and then closing it?
You're opening it and leaving it open for another 24 hours.
Okay. Okay, so
Just
I am now.
Susan indicated.
Okay, so I am now officially opening the public hearing, which will remain open for the, excuse me, for the next 24 hours. And can I ask you, Susan and staff, how are we getting the word out to the public about this public hearing, and how are they going to know how to comment on it?
We advertised it. You have to advertise a public hearing when you issue debt, and it has to be at least 14 days before the meeting.
Right, and do people also know that it's staying open for another 24 hours?
I think that was in the notice, but I would have to go back because bond counsel drafted the notice, so I'm sure it met the legal requirements.
Okay, okay. And Monica, did we receive any public comment related to this item, this public hearing?
No, Chair Jacobs, we have not.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much, Susan, for all of your work on this, and I guess we will just see what happens over the next 24 hours, and then we will take the next steps at our next meeting on June 1st at the work session. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have an update on our malware attack, and we've got, I assume, Greg Marrow, our Chief Information Officer, with us tonight to give us a status report. Thank you, Greg. Do we know if Greg is with us anymore?
He is showing on the line. There may have been some type of disconnection. I am seeing Rod on here if you want to, well.
Okay,
Greg?
why don't we jump ahead to Rod and then we'll come back to Greg. Maybe he needs to call in. So we'll move on to our Durham County update on the COVID-19 crisis, and welcome Rod Jenkins, our Public Health Director, and also Joanne Pierce, one of our General Managers. Thank you, Rod, for all of your leadership for our community, and I'll turn it over to you.
No problem. Madam Chair, can you hear me well?
Yes, we hear you, Rod. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, we thank you, the Durham County Board of County Commissioners, for your support of public health as we continue our response to COVID-19 during this unprecedented time in Durham County's history, and also the history of our entire planet, because there's not too many places you can go that COVID has not affected. Again, we continue to be inside our emergency operations posture, and as I've said so many times before, I cannot thank Jody Miller, Jim Groves, Leslie O'Connor, Taylor Davis, and Ari Shine for their leadership. We truly have bonded. And day 70 of our 7-day-a-week operation, to include holidays, weekends, you name it, we've been there and we have maintained our posture. So we are certainly most fortunate and thankful for this great collaboration. Just kind of, as I normally do, I'll just kind of give you the overall perspective. Globally, we're sitting at 5,406,282 cases of COVID, resulting in 343,562 deaths. And the numbers continue to be staggering. Within the United States, we're at 1,662,414 cases of COVID. And we're inching, unfortunately, closer and closer to 100,000 deaths. Today, we sit at 98,261 deaths related to COVID in all 50 states and 5 U.S. territories. Within North Carolina, we're at 24,140 cases of COVID, resulting in 766 deaths in all 100 counties. And in Durham, we're at 1,352 cases of COVID, resulting in 45 deaths. We continue to promote our data hub. We continue to be thankful for the efforts of Tara Blackley and John Paul Zita, who were really the brain trust in trying to get that together, and through collaborations with Duke University Medical Center and information sharing. It is the platform that's getting a whole lot of attention, and we get a lot of spirited comments about the Data Hub, and we're so grateful that the community has embraced it and relies on it for a source of information. We continue to try to update it and hone it as best we can, so we continue to ask that you go there for your latest and greatest in COVID-19. Happy to report that 2,531 contacts have been identified through thorough contact tracing and investigative efforts. And of course, this does not include Butner Correctional Facility or any of our long-term care residents. 883 cases have been released based upon DHHS guidance. In other words, they have recovered. And we have about 408 cases that are still active and in isolation and being monitored on a daily basis by public health as of the end of today in Durham County. The age of our cases is average age is roughly 44.8. And I'm going to give you some information about active cases. Under the age of 18, we have about 29 cases representing 7% of our cases. Age 18 to 44, about 167 total cases representing 40%. Age 45 to 64, 110 active cases representing 26% of our active caseload. And over the age of 65, 111 representing 27% of our active cases. Again, active cases, 47% are female, 52% are male. To talk about our sources of exposure in our active cases, about 70.7% of our cases are close contact. Our community spread has gone up a little bit. At one point in time, it's in the 18s. It's now hovering in the 20.4% range. There are no cases currently active that are travel related, and 9.8% of our cases are under investigation, and we've lost none of our cases due to follow-up. 10% of our active cases continue to be healthcare workers or those who work in a healthcare facility. And just for the good of our audience, community spread continues to be defined as cases that have come up positive with no known travel history or no known close contact. In terms of race and ethnicity, 35 of our total cases identify as Asian, representing 2.59%. 488 of our cases, total cases, identify as Black or African American, representing 36.12%. 12 of those are hospitalized, and it's been resulted in 24 deaths in the African American community. 447 identify as other, representing 33.09%. 12 of those are hospitalized. It's been 1 death categorized as other. Unknown total is 74, representing 5.48% of our cases. 2 hospitalizations, no deaths. And those individuals identifying as white, representing 307 cases, or 22.72% of our cases. 3 have been hospitalized and resulting in 20 deaths. Race is unfortunately not available for 5% of our confirmed cases. 33% of our total confirmed cases identify their ethnicity as Hispanic or Latino. And as mentioned earlier, there's been 45 COVID-related deaths. Our efforts to do outbreak have yielded some dividends. 36% of our cases now are associated with a long-term care facility outbreak. Good, again, for the good of our audience, an outbreak is considered 2 or more laboratory confirmed cases of COVID in a long-term care or a congregate living facility. Again, we've had some significant success with that. As I've always talked about as far as testing and tracing and trending, we continue to yield good results with our testing. And while I'm not necessarily at liberty to announce it, we do have a corporate benefactor or corporate company that's coming to Durham really soon in order to provide testing free of charge by appointment only. I've been asked by the governmental affairs liaison to kind of keep quiet on that, but more information to come, and we're definitely elated that they chose Durham and other locations. There will be 3 locations, and they will have the capacity to do over 150 tests per day. So more to come on that. We do have new tools that's still currently being developed, but they show great promise. It's a tool called Check My Symptoms, which will allow users to be able to go to a site and assess themselves for those symptoms of COVID-19. And there's also a tool called Find My Testing Place, which will allow people to determine exactly where they can go to get tested. And I've plugged in the addresses for Durham and see that we have multiple sites available for testing. So we're elated about that. Did have a great partnership with about 13 Duke physician assistant students that joined us a few weeks ago in our contact and tracing efforts. And fortunately, they've left us. And last Friday was their last day, but they did a phenomenal job. And I'm happy to report that we have replaced those 13 individuals with current embedded staff within the Durham County Department of Public Health. And we continue to train and cross-train in order to ensure that we have an adequate workforce for this contact tracing. This week, the state of North Carolina has scheduled to bring different counties online with their efforts through the Community Care of North Carolina to have contact tracing provided by the state. And the holdup was the development and implementation of their Microsoft product. But I'm happy to report that testing inside a training environment and in live environment will happen on tomorrow for Durham County Department of Public Health. And our staff is available and ready. And we're just elated that we will have this additional force to assist us with this arduous work of investigation and contact tracing. And as far as trending, again, we continue to use our data hub, and we are doing a pretty good job of trending and providing that updated information as it becomes necessary. There's no secret that we've had an increase in cases, and I truly think it's attributed to a number of different things. And for the good of the commissioners, I'll say 3 things come to mind. It's certainly attributed to the reopening of, or phase 2 of the state. There's a lot more individuals who are matriculating throughout the triangle. And, there are some individuals who are, exercising their freedom and their liberties, and may not be doing all the things that have been encouraged. And that's been truly evidenced by some of the photos and the reports that we've seen over the Memorial Day weekend. And the second thing I would say is our heightened awareness campaign for our Hispanic population in Durham. Prior to getting on the this county commissioner call, if you will, this meeting, I did do a Facebook Live event with a group called ISLA, I-S-L-A, and it was well received, well attended, over 1,000 views on Facebook, and we disseminated some great information. But the main thing we wanted to convey to the Hispanic population is that there's nothing to fear. We are governed by HIPAA. Things are private. We wanted them to understand that it's important that they talk to us. So when we make the phone calls and the efforts to investigate and contact trace, it's important that they let us know exactly what's going on without fear of retribution and without fear of any other inhibitions they may have. So we've done that in addition to print and digital graphics in Spanish, and my health directive videos and informational videos by our interpreter staff. We've set up a Spanish email listserv and provided talking points to a number of individuals. And I think the most important thing is that we've galvanized the Hispanic community organizations and activists to help spread the word. And we were commended on this Facebook Live event for the work that we've done to, just increase awareness and to avail ourselves at any opportunity to let them know that we care, and they are our fellow Durhamites, and we want the best for them. And we still have a lot more work to do. The third thing I will say is that we continue to follow the data, and we've seen a lot of our construction industry workers who have come up as divulging that their employment is construction. So we're definitely strategizing along with the Recovery and Renewal Task Force chairs to find a way to speak through the leadership of our construction industry to get the word out that there's been a significant increase in COVID-19 cases identified as construction workers. We continue to march on, members of the commissioners and senior executive staff. The work is arduous. I have concerns about the staff, and I want to make sure that they're engaged and they have the time to reflect and refresh. But COVID-19 is not going anywhere anytime soon until a vaccine comes aboard, and we're going to continue to stay in the arena and fight this fight. But I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Rod, for your report, and really appreciate the efforts that you are making to get out into all parts of our community, and especially right now with our Latinx community. That sounds fantastic, the event you were just in. And I wonder if you could, I know that you have spoken about this a little bit, but if you could speak a little bit to our board about some of the data that you're still waiting for from the state and how we really need that, because we right now we know how many positive tests we're doing, but it's hard to put that into context because of what you're waiting on. So could you just speak a little bit about that?
More than happy to, Madam Chair. public health has always prided itself on providing cumulative data. And a lot of that cumulative data has been based upon positive tests. And COVID-19 and the efforts to be transparent and to be able to provide much needed data is causing public health in general to pivot. And we're really having to do a 180 and think about negative lab results. In order to give a true picture of where we are, we need that denominator, and that denominator is the total number of tests, regardless of positive or negative. And having to get all negative lab results has proven to be an arduous task for the State Department of Health and Human Services. It's important to emphasize that this is not something that public health can do on its own. We rely on the state not only for guidance, but we rely on them sometimes for critical data that is all encompassing and represents the entire Durham proper. So I've been assured by state epidemiologist, Dr. Zach Moore, that they are reviewing all information that's injected into the North Carolina Electronic Disease Surveillance System in an effort to get that information. But he made no mistake about it, it is a huge challenge. However, they're making progress, and about a week ago, he just indicated that they were about a week and a half to 2 weeks away from being able to provide that information to all 100 counties. It's a significant lift for them. However, I have no doubt that they'll find a way to do it. But in the meantime, in between time, we're hampered because we are without that data. While we are able to extract data for Duke University Medical Center, again, they have ways of, extracting their own data. We're not able to extract it for all labs throughout the county of Durham. And we rely on the state for that. So I'm continuing to press the state for that. We had our weekly COVID-19 briefing with the state, and there's opportunities for us to throw questions into chat boxes, and I'm filling the questions up about testing because I know it's what's expected of me as the public health director and reporting to Durham and the citizens. And I'm doing my best to try to get that information, but I just beg your patience with me and with the state until we're able to extract that information.
Thank you. Questions, follow-up questions for Rod from commissioners?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Howard.
Thank you. Just one question, comment, and then a question. Rod, thank you so much for the report, and continue to appreciate you and your team for the incredible work that you do. And we all know that this is a tough time for all of you that are doing this work. The question that I have is about the Latinx community. Do you have any numbers on that community as far as the spread?
In terms of the spread, Commissioner Howerton, again, thank you so much for your kind words. And it's kind of tough to differentiate the spread, but I can give you percentages. And it was toward the week of April 27th that we started to notice that there was significant numbers coming from our Latinx community. And what we started to see was a slow and steady uptick. For example, the week of April 27th, they were sitting at 27% of our cases. And I'm trying to, I apologize, I'm trying to extract that information for you right now. And what I do know is that there was a steady increase. And while I look, I just can give you just a small example. Yesterday was Memorial Day, and as mentioned, we were at work, and we were, steady at it, and we did have an influx of cases, but again, when we really started doing our investigation, it was clear to see that the majority of the cases that were coming in were from the Latinx community. And we in turn began to really just start mobilizing and really getting our bilingual staff and getting our language line activated and everything. So, it's that steady increase, and a lot of it is coming from as a result of a number of different things. I mean, it's the intrafamilial activities that they are accustomed to. It's their mode of transportation when they're going to work, and they're going after those dollars that's going to help their families and everything. And it's the mode of, well, I would say it was the mode of communication that local and state officials had published. And it's forming these alliances and these relationships with organizations like ISLA and El Futuro and El Centro and Latin 19, which we could get that constructive feedback, like, hey, how are we doing? What can we do better? And they're just like, hey, kill the fluff and just give us pictorials and give us like straight information. And that's the best way to kind of get that meaning out to them. And can you avail yourself for, this live Facebook Live event? Can you do certain things? So I was like, absolutely, whatever I need to get the information out. So again, from April 27th, Commissioner Howardson, to the present, we're seeing upwards of anywhere from 48 to 54% of our cases being Latinx. So that's a call to action. That's significant.
Yeah.
It's not 60%, but it's close. And we follow the data. We look at what the numbers show us, and we look at the information, and we mount up a campaign, a plan of action. And so far, it's been a short while. It's only been about 2 to 3 weeks, but we've been fairly successful in our response.
And this is Joanne Pierce, General Manager. Piggybacking on what the health director has said, it's really important also that we shift the narrative from assigning blame to the Latinx or other populations that are experiencing the burden of these poor outcomes. And so it's not that, I'm sorry?
Yeah,
it is not.
I'm just listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is not that Latinx or African American people are at risk because of their race or ethnicity. It is because of racism that they're at risk. And so racism being the policies and the practices, generations of trauma and neglect and under-resourcing, discrimination. So that sets up people of color, and in this case, Latinx populations, to be vulnerable. So it's really important as we do outreach with any community that might be having poor outcomes, that we understand that, because if we have that as a narrative, that's a shifting of the narrative. And those are the things that folks who are really looking into this perfect storm that we're in, where racism, inequality, and COVID-19 have combined to cause an alarming number of COVID cases and deaths among Latinx populations. So we have to really keep that front in mind, because based on how we understand what's happening, that's where our strategies will come from. And if we want our strategies to be sustained, we need to be clear about what the problem is, how we have come into this space, and then develop those solutions from there. So, but just piggybacking on all of what Rod said. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, you.
Thank you, Commissioner Howerton, for bringing up that issue. And I just wonder, Rod, and thank you for your excellent report. I wonder if your contact tracers come up with neighborhoods and areas of focus that would be good information sometime next week to be sharing with Dr. Elaine Hart Brothers with CHC and Isaac Henry and with Cover Durham, because then they can maybe focus more of their outreach efforts in those areas.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Commissioner Reckow, for that suggestion. This very question did come up on our multi-agency coordination call earlier today at 4 o'clock as to whether or not there was specific neighborhoods. And I regret to inform you that the answer is particularly no, because it is a little bit of everywhere. If we were to plot it on a map, we would not necessarily see a specific area. That was one of the first things that I asked, is it attributed to a certain area? Are you seeing clusters, if you will? And the answer I received was no to all. However, we do know that there are specific areas where, there's a heavy influx of Hispanic residents or whatever. So to your point, we're more than happy to revisit that and to make that a suggestion for areas to maybe spread more information and awareness. Yes, ma'am.
And Dr. Elaine Hart Brothers had a very good idea. Included in the funding we're providing, they've included doing some advertising on 2 radio stations that are geared to the Hispanic community. So that
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because we just inked a contract with I believe it's called La Ley, and that is a popular radio station, and we are just a half step ahead of you in terms of providing that. I kid you not, Commissioner Reckow, when I tell you that we are trying to exhaust every avenue in an effort to spread awareness. We're trying to do it. We really want them to be safe and just feel comfortable knowing that their county government has their back and is looking out for the best interests.
Okay. Well, do you know Dr. Hart Brothers?
I've not had an opportunity to meet the doctor, but I look forward to it.
Well, I'll be happy to get you together virtually, and then you can connect. She served my first stint on the health board was right after I was elected a little over 30 years ago, and she was on the board. We served about 9 years together, so we got to be great friends.
Yes, ma'am, and I thank you in advance for that connection.
Okay.
Just one other thing, Ellen, Radio 1 is the one that we're using on the Cover Durham with the mask, so there may be some way to connect the two and be able to use both of the radio stations. I don't know if that's possible in our proposal or not, but Radio 1 is the one that's on the Discover Durham, so we just got to figure out how to get both of them to talk.
And Commissioner Howardson, in the interest of time, I did find the PowerPoint presentation that we presented to all the grassroots Hispanic population. I'd be more than happy to send that to you and the rest of the board for your informational purposes.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I know we've spent a lot of extra time on this, but this is really important, and hopefully the community is also listening in to get the benefit of all this information from Rod. Any other questions from other commissioners? Well, I will just wrap it up by saying that, our Latinx population is only 13% of Durham's overall population, so the fact that 33% of our cases are currently impacting this part of our community is definitely alarming, and I know, Rod, you have cautioned us as we looked at our stay-at-home order, our next steps You had urged us to be cautious, and as you mentioned, we only opened up retail to 50% on May 15th, and it takes 2 weeks to see the impact of that. So we don't even know the overall impact of that, and now we've further opened things on May 22nd, and we did, Durham County, with the input of our Recovery and Renewal Task Force and others, and Rod, we did delay our restaurants and our pools and our personal care salons to June 1st, precisely to give people more time to prepare and give our businesses time to get ready to safely open and protect themselves, their employees, and their clients. But I know, Rod, you're the best at doing this, but we don't want people to forget that everyone needs to keep practicing the 3 W's. And Rod, I will let you close out on that message, please.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing and championing that public health message, Madam Chair. I greatly appreciate my team and I. We thank you, but yeah, you definitely want to practice the 3 W's, and we want you to wear that face mask, that face covering. We want you to wait, and that's speaking to social distancing. Wait 6 feet apart, and most importantly, a proven time trusted and tested and effective public health measures to wash them hands for 20 seconds or more. Just make sure you sanitize it. And we're doing great, Durham, and as I said in my weekly message, we can do this, Durham.
Thank you, Rod. Next, we have Greg Marrow. Greg?
Yes. Good evening.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. We'll turn it over to you for an update on the malware attack.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, Board of County Commissioners, and managers. My apology a little bit early. I think it's something special about the 9 o'clock hour in IT. So, in the previous meetings, when I've given updates, I've talked about the 4 priorities that we have set with respect to the malware restoration. And so our priority 0, these are your core IT services. And so the best way to think about priority 0 is the foundation of a house, right? We have replaced the entire foundation. We have jacked the house up and replaced the entire foundation. And that's what we call priority 0. That is complete. That's complete. We've done that within 60 days of the malware attack. The next priority is your P1. Those are your applications and services that directly impact citizens and their ability to use county services. Check mark. That is now complete. I'm not aware of any applications or services that are offline at this point in time that are citizen-facing or resident-facing. The next priority is priority 2. These are your enterprise applications. These are the applications that all employees internally use, like email, voice, telephone, including SAP. And so all of those applications have been restored. And when we talk about SAP, think of that as a refrigerator. IT has replaced the refrigerator, but Susan now has to come along and stock it. She has to put stuff inside the refrigerator so that people can feed themselves. And so that's where she will give an update on that piece of the equation. But we have replaced the refrigerator on top of a new infrastructure. All of that is working. And then the last priority, which is really where we're spending our time now, is those department-specific applications that are not considered high priority. Meaning, as an example, somebody may need QuickBooks installed on a computer. Somebody might need a specialized piece of software installed on a computer. So that's kind of where we're spending the bulk of our time now. We've completed P0. we've completed P1, we've completed P2, and we've done all of this while trying to stay safe. We are still under attack. It's not a day that doesn't go by that that someone is trying to get us to click on a link. And this is consistent across all counties around the country. And I just opened up Government Technology magazine, and today's article, the county in Pennsylvania, that the heading says, Luzerne County in Pennsylvania is still coping with their cyber attack 1 year later. And so we're not in that boat, thankfully. We've been able to restore most of our systems within the last, I think we're in the 83rd day or something. So most of our systems are restored, and there are some systems now where the business units need to do their thing in order to make those systems usable by the entire community. And an example of that is SAP, and I think Susan was going to give a quick SAP update. But I will take any questions at this time, if anyone has any questions regarding what I just went through.
Okay. I just want to thank you, Greg. This has been, I think, a lot longer journey than you or anyone else anticipated it would be for your staff. And opening it up to questions for other board members.
I loved Greg's refrigerator analogy, but now I want to know about stocking the refrigerator so we can get SAP up and running. So I guess, is that Susan?
Yes, ma'am. SAP was opened up, well, the SAP financial side was opened up to external departments countywide as of this morning. So just to give you a little background, even though the attack occurred on March 6th, April 6th was when IS&T said to finance, now you need to go to the development client and validate that the data is accurate, that when they restored it, that the data was okay, not contaminated. Also to find out at what point the system stopped processing. So with SAP best practices, you have a development client where you have to put in your programming changes first, test, and then if it's successful, or once it's successful, then you move it to quality assurance client, which is ECQ, and then you do the second round of testing, and then once that's done successfully, then you move it into prod. So and also some processes are decentralized, like journal entries. So when finance had to validate, we had to get those people responsible in the external departments to validate what they had entered in the system as well. So we signed off that everything was accurate April 23rd. And then SAP production was opened up to finance April 24th. And so from April 24th until now, that's what we've been doing, is stocking the refrigerator. While we were in manual mode, we issued about 27 purchase orders, 50 plus manual contracts with manual encumbrances to satisfy the pre-audit, and 2,150 handwritten manual accounts payable checks for processing payables. So we had to make sure that we had the system processes in place to adequately stock the refrigerator and make sure the payables were processed in SAP. And then there was a process we had to take on where we had to input things like manual checks so that the system wouldn't think I've got to process a second check. So it's all been very tedious and very detailed, but the finance team has done great. So we had a method, we had methodology, we documented everything. For payroll, we had a set of disaster pay codes, but no one ever in there had a clue that we would be dealing with 2 disasters at one time. So we had to create COVID disaster codes to track cyber separate from COVID. And that required a lot of testing, which is why it took so long for payroll to start truing up. We had to do the true up configuration changes for the payroll advances from using the bank file. And then we had to turn right around and do the COVID testing. So the only other codes that are left to input are FMLA. So now it's a matter of just moving forward to get payroll back live, but they have to be processed one at a time. So, in essence, we've stocked the refrigerator in 1 month. Most staff have not even had a day off since March 6th. But it's been a learning experience, to say the least. But we opened it up today. Oh, and also, we didn't want the departments externally to process new process transactions until we could consume the budget for what we had already done manually. So from a budgetary control perspective, we wanted to process what we'd already committed and what we'd already paid before opening it back up.
So Susan, thank you for that and all the work you and your staff have been doing. So when do you think the short-term employees who worked the election, which happened to be at almost the worst time ever in terms of this, the perfect storm of the 2 attacks, and then the part-time employees, some of whom have been paid too much and some paid too little, and now we're over 2 months hence. When will that get straightened out?
We're truing up for each pay period. So for each pay period, we're truing up with what, if you were underpaid, you're getting a net check for what, the amount that you are due. And if you were overpaid, then you're paying the county back. And because you could have been underpaid 1 week and overpaid the next, it's going to keep changing, shifting. So what we're doing is waiting until we're trued up, everything's caught up to date for payroll, and then if anybody still owes any funding to the county, then we will reach out and notify those individuals. And if they feel the need for a repayment plan, you know, we can work that out.
All right, well, good luck with it.
So Susan, I just have a follow-up to what Commissioner Recca was just asking about. I know it's been very complex and challenging. How are we communicating directly with all of the election workers and part-time workers that are being impacted by this?
Well, we've had no communication as far as any repayment plans, because like I said, it's still shifting. So we need to get to the end and say, okay, where do we stand? And for those people who owe us something, then I had spoken with Claudia, and we were trying to design the best notification process so that we could do it all at one time. So that's the plan. And then, like I said, if someone feels like they can't pay it all back at that time, then we can set up a repayment plan. So that we could do that.
But have we sent any letters to people just letting them know just this is what's going on and we're really sorry and please be patient with us? I mean, have we done just that type of communication?
I have sent detailed communications to the department directors regarding regarding the situation and any updates, but I have not reached out to individuals.
Well, did they have, but would the departments have the list and the contact information for all of these people?
Madam Chairman, these issues came up at our last department heads meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was discussed in detail because obviously department heads are concerned about the time that it is in fact taking for us to get the SAP system back up and running. And Susan thoroughly explained to everyone all of the errors that were coming in and the time that it would effectively take in order to get the system back up and running, at which it was the department head's responsibility to go back and to speak with their workforce and to just kind of get folks up to speed. Perhaps there was a communications breakdown to the extent that, you know, obviously not everyone's in the individual work environment, but the information was communicated to the department heads.
And this is Claudia. Regarding elections, the elections director He did communicate with all of the elections employees or the part-time workers. And we did share that, an example of one of those communications with the board. So we can also resend that information.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions for Greg or Susan? Okay, well, thank you. These updates are really important, and we appreciate all the work that everybody is doing as we continue to go through this process. And we'll have a better system when we're done, right, Greg? And
Absolutely, absolutely.
I will continue to try to do my part and send you my suspicious emails.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And Madam Chair, I just want to again thank both Susan's team, the IT team. We certainly have a dedicated and committed, very passionate group of folks who are committed to getting us back to where we need to be. And so, I want to thank those teams and thank the management team for their patience and cooperation as well.
Thank you.
And I agree with Greg. IS&T, it's been a team effort.
They're our second EOC team behind the scenes, working tirelessly as well. Thank you. Okay, so we are, let's see, I'm now in, my screen went blank. Okay, we're now up to boards and commission appointments. So I'll turn that over to you, Attorney Seiler and Monica.
Okay. Madam Chair, members of the board, for the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, you could select one individual, and you have selected Gail Adlin. For the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, you could select one person. You've selected Carrie Lynn Fors. For the Board of Health, you could select one person, and you selected Joshua Brown. Now, we have an interesting issue with the Durham County Women's Commission. You could select one person, but currently the highest vote getter has received 2 votes. And so in my communication with Monica, we discussed that this one probably needs to come back to you at a later meeting. I don't know if that's something you want to take up at the work session or a future regular meeting.
Okay, well, thank you, Lo.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a few more again. With the Durham Cultural Advisory Committee, you could select 2 individuals. You selected Yvonne Coleman-Cook and Jamaica Holloway Burrell. For the Farmland Preservation Advisory Board, you could select 2 individuals. You selected William Sparrow Sr. and Nancy Herndon. For the Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority, you could select one person. You've selected Elizabeth Weiner. For the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, you can select one person. You've selected Shannon Casey. So those are the results of your votes.
Thank you very much, Attorney Seiler. Okay, we now have a closed session. The board is requested to adjourn into closed session for the following: to establish or instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, or 2, the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or a proposed employment contract pursuant to General Statute 43-318, 11A5.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Howerton. And we'll do a voice vote, starting with Commissioner Howerton.
Yes.
Commissioner Reckow,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Hill,
Yes? Yes?
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
and I'm an aye. So unanimously adjourned to closed session, and Monica has sent us another link. So we will see everybody over in the closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, hello everybody. Do we have everyone?
We do not. We have Commissioner Reckow and we have Lowell.
Okay. Oh wait, Heidi, I see is.
Commissioner
Wait.
Howard?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got at least 3 people.
Right.
Okay.
Commissioner
I'm
Carter
on.
is.
Okay, we got Commissioner Carter. All right, well, I would entertain a motion to, oh wait, we've adjourned from closed session, given direction to staff, and entertaining motion to adjourn, moved by Commissioner Howerton. Seconded by Commissioner Carter. And we will do a voice vote, starting with Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Is Commissioner Hill here?
He is not.
Okay. Commissioner Reckow? Uh-oh. Okay. Commissioner Howerton?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that's 3 of us. Okay.
I said yes, you didn't hear me?
Oh, you said yes? Okay, I didn't hear you. Okay, so 4 of us are saying yes, and we are unanimously adjourned. See everybody tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.